So here's a stat. We use a cropland the size of China every year to grow food that we throw away. And that's just crazy, and it's just got to stop. So, my name's Steve Lapidge, as Belinda said, and I'm the CEO of the new Fight Food Waste CRC. Before we really get into the talk, I want to present some facts. And they are, we waste, so in terms of food loss and food waste, and the difference is up on the image here, and I'll collectively term that as waste. But we waste $1.65 trillion worth of food each year around the world. 1.65 trillion. Now, if that number rings a bell, it's the same as Australia's annual gross domestic product. So we take the whole productivity of Australia and throw it down the drain. And again, I say that's just got to stop. But it's not just the economic damage, it's the environmental damage that food waste causes. If food waste was a country, it would be the third biggest emitter of greenhouse gases. And so that's that's behind China and USA as really big countries, but it is ahead of countries like India and Russia, which also have massive populations. And in fact, greenhouse gases emitted from rotting food waste in landfill emits nearly 6 times the amount of greenhouse gases as the global aviation industry. So I know when I was a kid growing up and sustainability in my eyes and look to the sky and see these big plumes of pollution out behind a plane thinking, geez, isn't that bad? But then I was probably chucking food into the bin at the same time. And you start to realise that we all have a role to play. But it's not just the greenhouse gases. It's things like water. So 25% of water used in agriculture is wasted because we don't eat what it grows. And 1 in 4 calories is also wasted. And that's at a time when 700 million people around the world are going hungry, are food insecure. In fact, the only way we can feed a growing population of near 10 billion people by 2050 is to stop wasting food. It's quite simple. But the economics also stack up. So food waste is now seen as a $1 trillion a year global opportunity by the Boston Consulting Group. And it's actually seen as the biggest opportunity in food and agriculture in Australia in the next 10 years, which is one of the key reasons that the research centre has commenced. So in terms of Australia's food waste problem, have a guess how much food we waste in Australia. So this is all the stuff we grow and all the stuff we import. Just yell out a number as a percentage. Anyone? 42% is what FAO, or Food and Agriculture Organisation, says Australia wastes each year. 42% of food. So a few years ago, we tried to get a better handle on that and get some numbers around it. And a student of mine did some calculations around what our problem looks like. And it's $18 to $20 billion a year. Now, these aren't deadly accurate, but it's the best figures we have for the moment, and it kind of draws a line in the sand and is the figures that the federal government now use. 18 to 20 billion. What's worse about food waste in Australia is that most of it occurs at that consumer end, at food service and at household. So that's about 65% of our food waste. And the problem is, when you've actually got it to that level, you've wasted all the resources that have gone into getting it to that level. So it's not only the water and the fertiliser on the farm, but it's all the transport, it's all the cost of manufacturing and processing, and it's all the cost of transporting to that supermarket, to your home, and then you go and waste it. So Belinda mentioned the figure before. New South Wales EPA currently predicts that the average household wastes $3,800 worth of food each year. For some households with young kids and young professionals, it can be much higher than that. And for some households, it's much less. But the average, it's $3,800. And to me, that's a great holiday. So we know we're wasting a huge amount of food. And the really troubling part here is that, well, we grow enough food in Australia to feed a population of 60 million people. And we've got about 25 million in Australia, of course. But the real problem is that 65,000 people each month are being turned away from food charities around this country because they don't have enough food to give them. 65,000 each month. In fact, the latest hunger report came out from Food Bank, who's one of the participants in the CRC the other day, And they now predict that every year 4 million people have periods where they're food insecure. And that means you don't know where your next meal is coming from, and you don't have the money to go out and buy it. 4 million people, it's a huge part of the population. But not all is lost. You can actually do a lot around reducing and transforming food waste. And certainly at the Waite campus, we're trying to become, and we are becoming, the national experts in this area. So whether it's the new Fight Food Waste CRC, the University of Adelaide, Potatoes South Australia, AWRI, and certainly SARDI, where I used to work, we're all playing our part in this. So I'll just give you some really practical examples of what we've been doing here. So Adelaide Uni, for example, has been taking the 40% of potatoes that are graded out when they go through the pack house. And again, 40% of potatoes are graded out in the premium market. And they've been turning them into a shelf-stable puree, into a dairy-free ice cream, into vodka, and why wouldn't you? But we'll be turning them into things like prebiotics, which actually aid in gut health. If we go to SARDI, where I used to work, SARDI's been doing a lot with the seafood industry. So they take the lobster, half of which is wasted when you rip off the tail and send it to Hong Kong, and they turn that into new products. So whether it's lobster oil or lobster powders for other food, even chitin for medical uses and bandages. They've been taking fish frames where you take off the 2 fillets and then they extract another 50% of meat out of that frame, which means it's not rotting in landfill, and turn it into fish cakes and other products like that. The Australian Wine Research Institute has been taking wine industry waste, they call it grape marc, it's the skins and the seeds and so on, and turning it into vitamins. At the moment, I'm not sure whether anyone's on resveratrol or uses grapeseed extract. All of those products are actually imported from France. Yet we've got a massive wine industry here, yet we're not utilising our own waste streams. And again, that's just crazy. In fact, a really interesting trial that SARDI did recently with grape marc is incorporate it into abalone aquafeed diets. So we're producing lots of abalone, it all goes off to China and attracts a great price. But once you get to about 24 degrees in those water tanks, they have mass mortality of abalone. They will die because it's too hot. If you feed them grape marc, about 20% of their diet, they can actually survive these heat stress events, which means you're getting a lot more dollar or a lot more profit out of what you're producing. It also means that the green lip is actually much greener, and that's what people buy green lip abalone on, how bright the lip is, because that's how healthy the animal is. So we're taking a waste stream from one industry and turning it into something that's really valuable for another industry. And that's called the circular economy, and that's the key, or the core aim of the CRC. So really, the possibilities are endless. But one I particularly like, I didn't put this photo up just to make you start drooling at the end of the day. The one I really like is toast ale. So one of the biggest waste streams in food waste is bread. And it's because all supermarkets generally, certainly in other states, have to throw out their bread at the end of the day. So in the UK, they're taking that day-old bread and turning it into beer. They're brewing it. And it's this product, toast ale, which is now taking off around the world. So we're going to have a project within the CRC with Woolworths, taking all their day-old bread and turning it into beer and other products, because that will dramatically reduce bread going to landfill. So why do perfectly rational people waste so much food? And you could say that that's a flawed argument from the start. Maybe not everyone is perfectly rational, but there's a number of reasons. And I will go through a few of these now. But before I do, I just want to say that the Australian government and most of the developed world has committed to reduce food waste by 50% by 2030. It's called Sustainable Development Goal 12.3. And our government committed in November last year, and the CRC is a major delivery vehicle for that. But if we are to achieve that goal by 2030, we have to target food waste in the house and in food service, because that's where about 2/3 of it is occurring. And because of that, everyone here has their role to play. So in terms of why we waste food, we've got the best of intentions. We go to the supermarket, we might have a list, we might know what we want to cook for the family for the week, and then of course you get home and the kids are off playing sport, or someone had to work back late, and you still cook the same amount of food, and then half the time it goes in the bin, Great if you can feed it to a dog or something like that, but a lot of the time it does just get wasted. So we lead busy lives and it's hard to prepare for that. We have the best of intentions, so we want the freshest, healthiest food for our family. We want the fruit bowl there, so the kids go grab that fruit out when they're hungry and get the best of nutrition from it. But of course, people get busy again, and at the end of the week, that fruit bowl can end up looking like that, and of course, most of the time, you turf most of that into the bin. A couple of other reasons are things like the best confusion around best before versus use by dates. I love this picture. But the problem here is that the retailers don't explain it well, and they're the first to admit that. Use by is a food safety term, and yes, it is important. It doesn't mean you have to throw it out. You should always use your nose to determine whether it's off or not. But best before is generally a marketing term, and if you're throwing food out when it hits its best before date, then that is a massive contributor to waste. Another key reason is that food is cheap in this country, and I know a lot of people wouldn't think that when they walk out of the supermarket and they've just paid $300-400 for a trolley full of groceries, but we're actually the second cheapest country in the world for food. We spend about 10% of our weekly income on food. In America, it's about 8%. In other countries, it can be up to 50-60%. And I tell you what, when you spend that much of your money on food, you don't waste anything. And it sounds like a bit of a strange one, but there's no penalties for wasting food in this country. In countries like South Korea, they've imposed strict penalties for wasting food. In fact, you have to pay for every kilogram of food you throw out. And because of that, in Texas, people don't waste food. So it's very easy to actually change this behaviour. But for some reasons, higher taxes and that, you don't want to go there, of course. When we called our new CRC Fight Food Waste, we knew that we weren't completely new, but what we didn't realise that there was a whole movement 75 years ago around fighting food waste. And this is a poster from the US from World War II. In fact, during any war, food is used as a weapon. And while we never want to get to that again, it is really important to think about. We can stop all food waste. We've just got to value the food. So what can we do about it? So these are the key take-home messages. So one of the partners in our CRC is OzHarvest, and I'm sure many of you have heard of OzHarvest and Ronnie Kahn. These are the 4 key steps they recently came out with. So the real take-home message, and this is a big campaign at the moment. So this is something you can join, and you get weekly updates about how you can be active in reducing food waste. So look what you have in your fridge, look what ingredients you have, and make sure you're aware of what you have before you go shopping, so you don't buy 2 of something and then have to throw it out. You've got to buy just what you need. One of the key areas that causes food waste is the 2-for-1 deals, particularly in packaged salad. So you buy the 2-for-1 and think, oh, well, the second one's free. But unfortunately, a lot of the time, by the time you get to it, it's quite mouldy and you throw it out. Now, it hasn't actually cost you anything, but it is costing the environment something, and that's something you do need to think about. You've got to store food properly, and we don't do this well, and particularly in a warm country. Leaving fruit out while it looks good actually really reduces its shelf life. And so store food properly and it will last much longer, and don't be afraid to freeze something if it's getting near its use-by date until you are going to use it, rather than just letting that expire. And finally, we've got to cook what we have. Don't always be running out and buying new ingredients. Use what you've got. And certainly that's the way it used to happen much more. And we've got to love our leftovers. And certainly, a lot of people still do that. My parents are in the audience, and certainly we had leftovers. Not that, I'm saying we're poor, but we had our leftovers. We made sure that we ate all our food. In fact, we could never leave the table until we ate all our food, and that's probably what got me into this position today. So, look, I'd like to leave it there, but I'll certainly around for some drinks. So please, if you've got any questions, do come up and ask me. Thank you.